It was a big year in the hobby of graded sports magazines. We had JSA and CGC teaming up for autograph authentication. We had PSA announcing that they're going to get into the grading game. We had Golden Auctions adding a separate category specifically for graded magazines and lots of other highlights. So let's take a review of the top 20 highest sports magazine sales from 2024. All right, coming in at number 20, we've got Mbappe, soccer star, on the cover of Sports Illustrated in 2022. And this is actually a CGC 9.9, a very rare feat, although there have been a few other sports magazine 9.9s popping up here and there. I think I've now seen four or five, but this was the first and also still the only Sports Illustrated issue to get a CGC 9.9. This one went up for auction on Golden back in June, and it sold for $5,197. At the time of the sale, there were 96 newsstand copies of this issue graded, and this was, of course, a Pop 1 with none graded higher. Coming in at number 19, we had Tiger Woods on the cover of Sports Illustrated in 1996. This is, of course, his first cover. It's a CGC 9.8. That's a grade that you don't see pop up for sale very often. And it went on Golden Auctions in August, sold for a final price of $5,490. At the time of the sale, there were 140 newsstand issues graded, and this one had a Pop 11 with none graded higher. At number 18, here's one you're going to see on this list a couple times. And of course, this particular issue still holds the record for highest graded sports magazine sale of all time when a 9.8 sold last year for $126,000. But right here, we've got a CGC 9.0. It's a newsstand. This is, of course, Michael Jordan's first pro cover, A Star is Born. And this one went on eBay in July for $5,500. There have been 113 newsstand copies of this issue graded at the time of this sale, and it was a Pop 7 with 16 copies graded higher. Coming in at number 17, this is one of those very unique ones, and this is Shoeless Joe Jackson on the cover of D&M Athletic Goods back in 1916. Very cool, and it's a CGC 4.5 restored grade. This one sold on Heritage Auctions back in February and went for a final price of $5,640. This was the only copy of this issue graded. And we've got a two-way tie at number 15. First one is Michael Jordan on the cover of Sports Illustrated from 1990. It's another bull run. This is CGC 9.6, sold on Golden Auctions back in August for $6,100. There have been 43 copies of this one graded in newsstand, and it was a Pop 5 with only one copy graded higher. And also coming in at number 15, it's another early 90s Michael Jordan Sports Illustrated cover. This was the On a Collision course cover, and it's a CGC 9.6. That's, of course, him there with Clyde the Glide Drexler. This one sold on Golden Auctions in September and went for $6,100, a CGC 9.8 copy. There had been 40 newsstand copies of this issue graded, and it was a Pop 3 with none higher. Coming in at number 14, again, Michael Jordan, Sports Illustrated. This is 1990. It's the Showtime cover. This is CGC 9.6. It sold in August on Golden Auctions. Went for $6,222. There have been 50 newsstand copies of this issue graded. It was a Pop 5 with only two copies graded higher. And coming in at number 13, again, it's the A Star is Born cover, Michael Jordan's first pro cover. This is another CGC 9.0 like the one we saw previously, but this one sold a little bit higher on Heritage Auctions back in February, sold for $6,300. Coming in at number 12, this is our first ungraded magazine to make the list, and this is PSA Magazine from 2024. That's right, ultra modern from this very same year. It's Tiger Woods on the cover. This was a one of one variant. Of course, PSA Magazine has been dabbling a little bit in the variant editions for different magazine covers. Pretty cool concept that, of course, is very popular in cards, and they've been applying it to magazines. There was actually a buyback offered for this particular one of one magazine by PSA. I believe it was for $5,000, and the basically the reward was whoever gets this cover can turn it back into PSA for $5,000. But instead, The owner decided to throw it up on eBay, and wise decision because they pulled in an extra 1,500 grand, and they pulled in an extra 1,500, sold it for 6,500 total on eBay back in May. Coming in at number 11, we're going vintage here back to 1960, and this is Jim Brown, NFL legend, on the cover of Sports Illustrated. This is his first Sports Illustrated cover. It's a CGC 8.0 newsstand, sold on eBay back in August for $7,500. Very low pop count, only 30 newsstand copies had been graded as of the time of this sale, and this was a pop 3 with only one copy graded higher. And moving into the top 10, we've got another Michael Jordan. This is 1991 Sports Illustrated. It's the Air Power cover. This is a CGC 9.8. This one sold on Golden Auctions back in September for $9,760. There have been 67 newsstand copies of this issue graded, and this was a Pop 2 with none higher. At number 9, we've got another ungraded magazine here, and this is Sporting Life back in 1916. That is none other than the great Bambino Babe Ruth, a very young Babe Ruth, very early in his career, still as a pitcher. And to our knowledge, this is the first magazine cover ever for Babe Ruth on any publication, and that's why it sold pretty strong on Heritage Auctions for $9,900 back in March. Coming in at number 8, this is Mickey Mantle on the cover of Sports Illustrated. This is a newsstand copy, CGC 8.5, sold on Heritage Auctions for $10,800 in May, and 68 total newsstand copies of this issue had been graded as of the time of the sale. That's combining the centerfold variant with the non-centerfold variant. This one here is the non-centerfold variant, and this was a Pop 7 with 12 copies graded higher. Coming in at number 7, this is Michael Jordan, another early 90s Sports Illustrated cover, and it's a CGC 9.8 copy of Another Bull Run. This one sold in December on Golden Auctions for $12,200. There had been 53 newsstand copies of this one graded, and it was a Pop 3 with none graded higher. Coming in at number 6, it's Hall of Famer Leo DeRocher with his wife, famous actress Lorraine Day. Oh, yeah, and that's just the Say Hey Kid Willie Mays on his first Sports Illustrated cover from 1955. This is a blistering CGC 9.6 newsstand copy. It sold on Heritage Auctions back in April for $16,200. There have only been 44 newsstand copies of this issue graded, and this is a Pop 5 with only one copy graded higher. Yes, folks, there is a 9.8 in existence of Willie Mays' first cover. We got a two-way tie at number 4, and first up is Iron Mike Tyson on his first Sports Illustrated cover from 1986, described as Kid Dynamite. This is a CGC 9.8 copy, and it sold in auction at Heritage back in August, and it went for a final price of $18,000. There have been 45 newsstand copies of this graded as of the time of that sale, and there are only two 9.8s. And also coming in at number 4, it is again the holy grail for the Sports Illustrated collectors, Mickey Mantle's first Sports Illustrated cover from 1956. And this is a CGC 8.0 newsstand. Now you may notice that an 8.5 was on this countdown earlier and sold for a lower price, I think maybe 10,500. But here we've got an 8.0 that went for $18,000. Now, the 8.5 that sold higher, that was back in May, and this was several months later in August and went for $18,000. Now, this was in a private sale, but I was able to confirm from both the buyer and the seller, both of whom are very active members of the graded magazine hobby, and that just shows how collectible this issue is. I know for a fact that the buyer was actively seeking a copy of this issue graded 8.0 or higher. In fact, even contacted me to inquire about mine. I passed, not wanting to sell, and only a week or two later, he was successful in securing this copy for the strong price of $18,000. So once again, the Holy Grail just shows how collectible it is, and those prices are going to do nothing but go up over the years. I can almost guarantee that when it comes to the Mickey Mantle first cover in newsstand. 69 newsstand copies have been graded at the time of this purchase, and it was a Pop 4 with 19 copies graded higher. Coming in at number three, possibly the most iconic cover of all time when it comes to Sports Illustrated. This is from 1980, and it's Team USA. It's the Miracle on Ice cover. No caption needed other than the Sports Illustrated title. One of the few times that SI posted just a photo only on their cover with no wording whatsoever. This is a CGC 9.8 of that iconic cover, sold on Heritage Auctions back in May for $19,800. There have been 106 newsstand copies of this graded, and it is one of only two copies graded at 9.8. Coming in at number two, again, Michael Jordan, first pro cover, 1984, A Star is Born. This is CGC 9.6, sold in May on Heritage Auctions for $22,200. At the time, 109 copies have been graded. This was a Pop 5, and there were five 9.8s in existence. And the highest selling sports magazine from the year 2024 was again the Star is Born cover. This is another CGC 9.6, just like the one we saw a minute ago. The previous one sold in May for 22,000. This one you can see sold a few months earlier for $33,600. Now you might be asking, why is it selling for $11,000 less only a few months later? And really there's two reasons. Number one, first to market typically is going to take a larger share. And number two, you notice here that at the time that this one sold, there were only three copies graded higher as a 9.8, whereas when the previous one sold in May, there had been two new 9.8s that had popped up in the census for five copies graded higher. So you never know how those auctions are going to go. Sometimes those really high end ones, when you have a first to market, then that's going to bring a premium price, and then the next few sales following that will be a little bit lower. But regardless, this was a monster sale. This was a monster year for graded magazines. The hobby continues to grow, and hope you enjoyed that countdown. If you have not yet done so, please subscribe to this channel. I also appreciate likes and comments, and until the next video, we'll see you next time.